All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
You're listening to Make It, the indie film podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Make It podcast. I'm your host, Chris Barkley.
And I'm your host, Nicholas K. Bugs, for those who didn't know.
Wow, the K, what does that stand for?
I can't tell you that because then it's going to be a thing.
I'm Nick Bugs. I'm really good at computers. I've always been working on computers.
That's some ridiculousness. And check it.
Yes.
So, yes, the K is for Kendrick. Mm-hmm. That is my middle name. And what's interesting is that my family has been exactly, bro. So my family is talking about this ridiculousness. I think they've caught Chris's disease somehow. And they've been talking about getting an animal and having it in my home. Talking about getting a dog. And I'm like, absolutely not. And then they were like, we should name the dog Kendrick. And then the other kid is like, no, because then everyone's going to think Kendrick Lamar. I'm like, yeah, they probably will.
Yes. And Kendrick's a ridiculous dog names. Can we just start with that?
Well, that's what they, and my wife is like, an animal should not have a human name. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with her. And so, by the way, welcome Papa Bear. Welcome Sam to the podcast and join us. By the way, no guest today. This is a traditional like indie talk with just Nick and I and the team. We're going to talk about some topical things.
Don't like
adjust your volume. Adjust your volume.
Oh, there you go.
And turn up the podcast. No,
that was well played.
Yes.
Sam, you got to give it to him when he said adjust.
It was smooth.
We are Sans guest today, but we are going to talk about some cool stuff. Right? We're going to do some Oscar talk. We're going to talk about what makes for a dog shit note for all you screenwriters out there.
Talking about dogs,
and we're going to talk about black people and why a lot of Sam's friends think they've got to go. So,
what is even happening right now? Like, what are you talking about? Sam's like, what? No, that is
I kid. I kid. We are going to talk about some things that are going on in the world today around that issue and around one of our sort of responding to one of our former guests, Frederick, who we love, and we thought that would be really apropos for this recording, and we're going to get into that. Now, in terms of dog names, I did have a friend named Nick. His name was Nick as well, but not Nick Bugs, Nick Brooks, and he had a dog named Nathan, and I had a big problem with it. I mean, you don't name your dog Nathan. It's just not.
So what do you think? I mean, so you give it a name that is unique, but also not human, right? Is that the
So I'm getting a dog this Sunday, and the dog's name is Maple. That's a perfect dog name.
Okay. Well, I think that goes well with things like Clove. Right, I like that. That well played.
Yeah, that was my former dog who passed away. Shout out to Clove, somewhere in doggy heaven right now. But great family dog for a long time. And then our other dog is Zeus.
See, I'm on that train, right?
Yeah.
I have cats, and I've got 4. There's my cat, right? So similar, right? And the other one's name was Violet, or is Violet. Her name is Violet, but she's known as TOC, which is an acronym. TOC stands for the other cat.
Yeah.
And
I was
gave her that one.
Table of contents? Like, what's happening here?
No. Yeah, I gave her that one, and it
Dr. Dre
stuck.
and the TOC.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I think it's a fine line where you walk, right? Like, you don't want your cat to be named Francis. But I mean, if it happened, you'd be like, "Ooh, that's right on the line." That's what I'm saying, Sam. I was saying,
that's a cool name, though. I like Francis for a cat.
Like Sebastian. Like if it's a kind of outrageous.
There was a dog
name?
movie named Sebastian, right, Sam? Is that true? The dog movie with the big sort of Papa Bear. What are those big dogs that Saint Bernards? What's their Saint Bernard? Named Sebastian. Beethoven. See, those make for good dog names. When you name your animal after some Greek god or mythical figure or
philosopher,
like Cardi B,
like if you had
Cardi B, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Exactly.
If you had a tiny dog and it had like that grayish white fur, those kind of dogs, and you named it Socrates. That's a great name. And I would imagine a cat named Francis with glasses on. You could do the Socrates. Get your ass in the crate, Socrates.
So disrespectful.
Yeah, see that?
I don't know. I was watching a clip yesterday of some funny dog clips, right?
You were?
And I couldn't believe it. They call the dog's name is Cooper. I said, who names their dog Cooper?
Hey, you know who names their dog Cooper? My next door neighbor.
Really?
Their dog who passed, his name was Cooper.
And they're divorced now, right?
And stop it. And the other dog's name is Sadie. So Cooper.
I've met a lot of Sadies.
Sadie's a good dog name. Sadie's a good pet name in general. Again, those kind of names, there's a fine line. There's an art to it, is what I'm saying. And speaking of art, to our first topic, because there is an art to giving a solid note to a writer.
Can I do it real quick? Chris, I gotta go. I gotta throw something new for you in there.
Okay, something new.
Segway man.
That was a fine segue.
It was. He knows the art of the segue. I mean, that's wonderfully done. I appreciate you.
I need to clip that out though, so we have it for the media panel later.
That's right.
I can just click a button and just make you guys go insane with button clicking that I do. But
button clicking.
Yes, but the note. I mean, the thing that made me think about this was we had a former staffer that needed notes this Monday, and I went through this. It was a short film script, and shout out to him. I'll keep it anonymous just in case, but you know who you are. I know you're listening. But the whole thing is taking it really seriously, and really I let him know right away, like, hey, I spent 2 hours on this. Yep. Like, so please, don't think that I skimmed this, or my goal was just to get through it and hand you back something that might make a 1% to 5% difference. No, I mean, I really want you to succeed. And I think so. The first thing that you start with a good note is, do you genuinely care about the person that's asking, for the note and for their success? And unfortunately, I mean, it's a question that you need to ask yourself. And if you're the one writing, you need to ask the person, or consider the fact that they may not necessarily want you to be super successful. I had a conversation 2 weeks ago with a few creatives that really do feel like it's a zero-sum game. And I just like, it's not. Like, there's abundance all around. And actually, if you follow the math of it, there's always Pareto's law working. So even if you're not good enough to make something yet, maybe in 10 years you will be, right? So it's just, if everything was happening at the same time, then maybe it would be zero-sum, but it's really not happening at the same time. We just imagine that we're as good as everybody else, or we should be where everyone else is. It would be like us being on this podcast and saying, you know what, we're as good as Joe Rogan. We should be where Joe Rogan is. And it's not that we even want that, and it's not that that's maybe not even true. It's just that the fact of the matter is that it's kind of a ridiculous thing to say, right? He started before us. He's famous already. Great guests. Full studio, all these things, but that's what creatives do to themselves too. They look at the person across from them, no matter how long they've been doing something, and say, I should be like them. So anyway, that was a quick aside. But I wanted to just start by saying the basis of it all is really close and creative friendships and a lot of trust. There's a lot of trust there, and you don't want to violate that. So if you get the chance to give somebody notes, or if you're giving your script to someone for notes, you hope that they spend the time on it that's necessary. But I wanted to turn to Sam really quick and just say, have you ever written any screenplays yet? I actually don't know the answer to this.
Not entirely. I've tinkered with it.
Okay.
So I've done some like scene work, but I haven't made like a cohesive script, basically.
Okay, that's coming around the corner for you in school for sure.
Absolutely.
And I know you've given me stuff, the reviews you've written to get notes on those and to go through that and comb through it and make it as good as possible. But when you do write a script, I hope you'll trust us enough to give you notes if you're worried about whether it's good or not. Because really, this is something that every creative wants and needs. Is this, because we all have this sort of creeping sort of doubt. But then on top of that, you sort of need somebody to work it out with you in terms, especially if you plan on shooting it. And I think that kind of leads to this idea of what is a good note, what is a bad note, right? And so a bad note tends to be one that is just opinions, right? And doesn't take you to script breakdown. And so unfortunately, we get a lot of those notes out there. There's a lot of notes that even if the caring was there, it was more opinion-based notes and dialogue-based notes where it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you should say this instead of that, or maybe the character would say this instead of that. And the time for that does come, but it doesn't come until you're shooting. It doesn't come until you have maybe actors or whatever. Those notes, unless the character really is responding in some weird way, I think most dialogue notes aren't going to be super useful if what they said doesn't change the storyline one way or the other, right? If the main thing that happens when dialogue is bad is, why don't you just take that out? Why don't you just like have him not say that or have her not say that? Or how can we take this soliloquy that you wrote for this person that doesn't make any sense down to one sentence and just have them say the thing that a human would say in response to that? But, so to me, that's one element of a bad note. And then the other bad notes are just usually notes of ignorance, where it's kind of like, you gave this note, but you made my scene more complicated, or you made it more expensive to shoot, or you made it impossible to shoot, right? Or you don't know formatting and you're harping on things like formatting, slug lines, and all these things instead of focusing on story and the through line of the story through a character, by the way. So I don't know. Those are some quick thoughts. Now, I will say this before you guys hop in. I think what makes a good note is the converse of that, which is the script ready for script breakdown? So if your PM comes in and they're starting to look at the script and try to figure out, the scenes and the scene list, the shot list, and you're working together on this with the director. A lot of times in indie film, the director is the writer. That's why I said it that way. But you're working on these things. Are you going to get stopped somewhere where you're like, oh no, this scene requires security presence on set. This scene requires potentially military presence on set, right? Like, so think about these big sort of action war scenes. Like, how are you going to pull that off, right? Does this require a stunt person? If you have a stunt person, does it require a stunt director? Does this require visual effects? Okay, if it does it require a visual effects director to be on set with it? And are you expecting to spend that kind of money on this shot, right? The people involved. And I'll tell you, with the one I did on Monday, I said, look, this is a short film that you're doing for near $0. It's 17 pages long, and you have 9 characters. You really need to think about that. That's too many. 9 people in a short film is a lot of people, especially for a young director, writer. And that doesn't count for it's like, you've got cars in here that you're going to have to rent a car. You're going to have to rent a van. You're going to have a bunch of Foley people. You're going to have this, the whole sound mix thing that you've got going on is going to be intense here. You're going to have to rent a giant venue. Are you considering that? And these are the kind of notes that I think are really good. They're yes, you can give notes about the story and the characters, but can you also give practical notes about what it's going to take to actually shoot this and move forward in your career? So anyway, Nick.
Yeah. So you mentioned a lot of things, right? Yeah. And I think that the way that I would scope this in my head, and I'd love to hear feedback on this, but there's a lot of movies that I watch that I don't like. Right? I mean, we can admit
surprise,
some
surprise,
things that we don't like. Yeah. And some of these movies are the films that I watch with my kids. Right? Like, I wasn't, to be honest, like, I watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out.
I didn't.
And I
look at Sam's face. You watched that?
Right. And
it's awesome.
No. And I wasn't. Listen. And I wasn't initially a big fan.
Wait, which one?
The one it was
the new one.
Mayhem or whatever.
Yeah, Mutant Mayhem.
Okay. And I wasn't a fan.
I still didn't see
when
that
I first watched it. But listen. Here's the thing. That movie wasn't made for this perspective that I came to it with. Okay, so I was judging that movie on the wrong perspective. My kids loved it. Yeah, and I could see why, because even though that they've been into Turtles for a while, they've seen different things. This was kind of a reboot for them. It rehashed the story. It had all of this flashback stuff to retell the story, which I'm like, I know that story already. Or they changed it. And I'm thinking about it from my experience with the Turtles.
I knew it.
So now I'm like, this is stupid. I don't need all this stuff. But it laid the foundation for what they could do next, right? So the first thing that I think about with notes is like, you got to understand who the audience is for this story. Yeah. Right. So if the audience isn't for me, then it could be difficult for me to give proper notes.
Yeah, right.
Unless I have the ability to put myself in someone else's shoes, which I can do. Not necessarily everyone can do that. I've got, like Chris and I, we've got kids, right? We got kids at different generations. So we can kind of say, okay, if I put myself in the college kid generation, what they're doing right now, let me put that hat on. Because I've been through those experiences with them. If I put myself in the, tween generation, if I put myself in that 8 to 10-year-old generation, like you can start to think that way, which I've come to learn how to do, because like when I watched Descendants 4 with my daughter, that's not necessarily the type of film that I enjoy. But then when I said, let me put myself in her shoes, I could see why she liked it so much and why it was so perfect for her. So for me, the first thing is, who is the audience for this film? Your notes need to be aligned with either the intended audience, or as you're reading it, you can say, hey, look, maybe this is actually better for this type of audience. You can think about audience in that way.
I think as a writer, that's kind of how you have to write too.
Yeah, you should be. Agree. That's what I'm saying. So they're already doing that. What I'm saying is that as the person who's giving notes, I need to know that. I need to know. Don't just give me the script. Tell me who the audience is, right? And then, Sam, I know you want to jump in on that. So that's the first thing I want to say. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, and I just want to say this real quick here, Nick. Let's not pretend like you weren't excited for Descendants 4. Okay. We all know the real story there. You're bearing the lead.
Yeah. Red was really cool, I have to admit.
There we go. Okay. Just had to get that out the way. I totally agree with what you're saying, though. I think that you need to understand what not only the narrative is presenting, but who it's presenting it to. Like exactly like you said. I think that if you lose track of that, that's how, there's been a problem with Hollywood making R-rated movies and cutting them to be PG-13 because they see that it so late in the game that it should be suited for a different audience group. And I think that's because no one told them that the narrative that was in there initially would be better suited for a slightly younger group, right?
Okay.
It's bad note, right? There was no note there. They didn't get that letter saying, maybe we just need less swear words and then we can make it more accessible, right?
That note was probably there, but there was probably a little bit of contention around the note, right?
Yeah, I mean,
possibly.
I also think it could have just been ignored. I think that there's these examples of some of these films that like it would be so easy to change so little, and they could be seen in a whole different light, and yet they still release it in that manner. You see what I'm saying? Like,
the writer-director wants it to be R. The studio wants it to be PG-13. It's that simple. And then there's a fight.
It could be, and then, but the notes early on before it gets to the studio, right? That could have happened that said, hey, it doesn't have to be that. If you take this little thing out or you add this little thing in, to Sam's point, it could have a broader audience.
It's a relationship dance, though, right? Like, it's easy for us to say it, but it's so hard to like walk up to this person you have a development deal with, or you have a 5-film deal with, and say, hey, we're going to change your movie. I mean, you really do just sort of blow up everything when you make that. You got to have the right suit in the room, the right producer. You got to have the right people to sort of give that note. But that's why mercenaries are hard too, right, Nick? Because then you can't give a note where you're respected as part of the team. You're somebody from the outside telling me how to do my work, telling me how to do my art. I don't want to do that. So I think giving a note to a person who wants to make something and hasn't is actually much easier than to give a note to someone who has made a lot of stuff and done it really well for a long time.
Right. And I think there's also a big element, and I think that this goes for creatives, of being receptive for notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get a note all day, right? If you ignore it, you ignore it.
Imagine telling Kanye West the snare needs to snap. Like
Exactly.
Run out of the room.
Right. Yeah. But
with prejudice.
Exactly. So
Right.
here's the second thing I was thinking about, which is something you don't actually get that I would actually ask for. So especially in a short, I think that I would want to ask for, like, what was your intention with that scene? I would love it if the script actually came with that. I don't think that's standard, but I would love it if you
should be able to read it.
No, but that's the thing is that's the note, right? Where it's like, the way you wrote this kind of feels like this. So I'm going to give you the note based on how I feel you wrote it, but that might not have been the intention of the writer. Yeah. So I'd love to be able to see, like, this is what I want you to feel. This is what the audience should know. This is what the audience should get from this. And then I can give the note on the intention, not on what I thought it was. Yeah. Right. So I think that would be nice to have that come along, especially short. I don't know. It would be of value for a full length, but I think in a short, it's like, yeah, I wrote this because I really want them to hate this person. Yeah. Right, in this scene. And then you could be like, oh, okay, yeah, you didn't hit the mark. Like, yeah, you just scratched the surface. Like, you yes, they did some bad things, but hate, you didn't hit it. Right. The language that you used wasn't enough, or the scenario that you put them in wasn't significant enough. And then I can give a note. But without that, now I'm giving my note on my interpretation that may not match their intention.
Yeah, that is interesting, because you would hope you would read that and be able to have read enough scripts to know, okay, this is what they're trying to do. Like, for example, I'll just put it like this, like for like independent films, and maybe even below that, I would say like student films, like this one is. Student films pretty much end up being the same two things for the most part, or they'll include these scenes somewhere in the script. Can you guess what the two things are that will show up in almost every first-time filmmaker or a student film?
I'm going to leave that one to Sam.
Two things. Sam, could you guess that?
Because the thing is, here's the thing. As Sam is thinking about it, I've seen a lot of student films, but they run the gamut of genre. Mm-hmm. So what a horror film has in it versus, there's some of these that are hyper creative where you're like, I'm not sure what that was. Yeah. But you were trying to do all the things you learned in a film, right? Where it's like, I'm not sure where it's going. So yeah, I don't know what those two things are. Maybe, Sam has an idea of.
Well, that's another thing that happens in films is you take everything you've learned and you throw it into one movie. Yeah. Sam, do you have any guesses? Because if not, I can just give it to you.
I have. The main thing I'm thinking of is long conversations, or like just a lot of dialogue. That is generally what I see most of the time in student films.
So don't show.
That's generally yeah. Well, you want to show, don't tell.
Exactly.
But the number one rule.
Exactly.
You're right.
And you're right. There is a lot of dialogue, but usually what happens is if you don't have somebody that's giving you a note on some of those long dialogue pieces in advance, those dialogue pieces just sort of get shut down by your time and budget or whatever else, and then it doesn't end up showing on screen in post, even though that's what was on the page, and it causes a lot of pain and delays and things like that. So I do agree with the long dialogue. But the two things that happen in but you see it over and over and over again. You become accustomed to it. This is just the next point about sort of reading intention, and it's so a murder. There will be a murder, or doesn't matter the genre. Someone's dying, or it will be a detective. There'll be an interrogation. There's an interrogation in every one of them, and it's always lamp over table, pissed off cop, hands on the table, yelling. The cop's always the same. It's always a hard ass, and he's he's abusive, and we have this idea of like that cops can just get away with this. Okay, you're talking shit to me, slam your head into the table. Like it just is not, it's like, that's not really how it works out, actually. I mean, and the reason we hear about it on the news is because it's extraordinary when it does happen. And those officers lose their jobs. They lose they used to. They lose their jobs and they lose their badges for that. And so I think we fall into that. But the reason those two always show up is they're very easy setups. People understand how they work. They're highly, they're done so many times. There's a lot of examples of it. You can shoot it. With a murder, it's a really easy way to create drama, right? Like somebody got murdered. This is a big deal. Like now it's really happening. This is
baked in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I would challenge, when you read it, you're going to see that, Nick, and then you're going to say, okay, I know what your intention was here. Your intention was to turn the story around with this murder, and then so on we go. And a lot of times what happens, the reason there's a murder or a detective scene in a lot of these or long dialogue, Sam, in these is because you're writing to what happens is the writer ends up writing to the idea of a story versus their character. So the first thing they do is say, I want to write a cool story. It sounds stupid, but it's really the first thing it says, like, I want to write a cool story. And it starts from there. It's okay, what's a cool story? Oh, a cool story is a story that has like a murder in it. It's definitely got cops in it. Someone definitely flips a table over. It's also really cool if it has a twist. Oh, you thought it was going to end? Wrong. Twist. This is what really happened. Oh, you thought Anna did it? Wrong. Guess what? Mary did it. And now you're writing that. Like, okay, now I just I've got what I want to do. And it makes logical sense. Now I got what I want to do. Now I just need to sort of put character and story into that framework instead of doing what you really have to do, which is know your protagonist like the back of your hand, like know what they would have for breakfast, know how they would respond to their mom, know all that thing, and then write what the protagonist wants, okay? And then you write a story about how he gets or she gets what she wants, and then on the way there, you throw the kitchen sink at your protag. And the kitchen sink is your antagonist. It's your subplot. It's everything else. You're throwing everything at it, and then right before the movie ends, whether it's a short or a feature, you might try making us believe that he or she finally got what they wanted and then snatching it away one more time.
Yeah, hero's journey. So
one more time.
Yeah.
But Aronofsky, who's my favorite, one of my favorites, I've said he's my favorite on this podcast, so I might as well stick with it. He does something really interesting where he lets the character, he moves that goalpost back. So instead of doing it just before, then she ends up getting what they want after that last obstacle, which is hero's journey. Exactly. What he does is he moves it back. And so if you look at The Wrestler or The Black Swan, and Sam, you've probably seen those movies for sure. The protags get what they want, what they always wanted. They get the big it. Even in The Whale, this happened.
That's what I was thinking.
But they have to give everything up to get it. So instead of getting that last obstacle thrown at them and then having them overcome it, that last thing kills them. But upon their death, they got everything they always wanted. And so he's basically begging and asking the audience to answer the question, was it worth it? You got everything you wanted.
It's interesting, yeah.
But was it worth it? And so
it's a style of storytelling, right? But I just wanted to jump in, Chris, and give you that third thing that I wanted to mention.
Oh, please! I didn't even know there was a third thing.
Yeah, the third
bonus
thing,
time.
But this is again, you kind of touched on each of these points at different times. But the third thing that I look at is when it's kind of part of intention is the resources. So the intention.
Oh, this is a huge
about about who's going to actually produce this project, this film.
Yep.
So if the intention is that it gets submitted for a short screenplay contest and then maybe goes on to Disney for them to help you produce it, is different than saying, I'm going to produce this for $0.
Right.
Because the note's going to be different.
Yep.
Right. Because now in this case, like you mentioned, the filmmaker, if they're going to say they're going to do it for $0, yeah, I got to give you notes, bro. Like you just had a major explosion. Right. And if you're doing that for $0, unless you got somebody on your team who's really good at VFX, maybe they do. But I'm going to ask that question. Right.
And he's going to be like, yeah, but it was on the toilet.
Yeah, right. Right. So it's like you got to make sure that you're able to do these things. So don't overdo it based off of the resources that you intend to have attached to this. So again, it's two different things. If you're doing it for a contest, you're not going to produce it yourself. Okay, great, awesome. That explosion was perfect because it's more about the storytelling and someone else. And maybe it will never be produced. Maybe this is just something that you're using to show your screenplay writing prowess so that you can do something bigger or win an award. But yeah, if you're going to produce this yourself, then it's a different set of notes based off of the resources that you have. So I would say that was my third thing, is just really understanding what the resources are associated with that.
Well, here's some inside baseball. Those contests, you're not going to win if you have an explosion. They know exactly what they're willing to spend on these shorts. They know what's unless you can make it pop off with AI or you have some VFX hookup or whatever. Like they're not going to let an explosion movie win. Right, because they know what they're going to. They've already got a budget and they plan it out. So it's one of those things where you still even in that sense, I think, Nick, you have to be a little bit practical. But I think you're right. Like it's now you can just write the story you want to write. I think, but you still need the note just to say, is it a good story and did you come at it from the right direction? And so just to review this topic, I mean, to me, a good note is one that makes your script first and foremost practical to shoot, like realistic to shoot. 2 is character driven and not sort of plot mechanism driven. And then 3 cuts down on and really sort of like it cuts down on dialogue, to Sam's point, but also it's sort of but dialogue in the right places where it's extraneous and stupid, but really just streamlines your story so that every word and every scene moves the story forward. And that's a note you can work with as a writer. You can turn around and say, okay, this is so much tighter. It takes us to where we're trying to go, somewhere in the future. We had a short film we produced called Gateway with our friend Matt Williams. And I thought that, we gave a really good note early, but not, I think one of the questions we should have asked in that one, and shout out to Matt Williams, is, hey, what is it that the main character wants and why? We knew the answer to that, but is it a thing that's a little too big for a short film, right? Like if you're writing for Pinky and the Brain and it's not like a cartoon, right? He wants to take over the world. Well, now you have a really big movie that has really big stakes, but it's in the package of a affordable short film, So I think notes like that help you out and move that story forward. Because I'll tell you this. One thing that happens is when you're starting out, you don't realize that every word is important. You just don't. You'll write a lazy action text. You'll write a lazy response in dialogue and think, well, it didn't change the story, so it didn't matter. Like, let's just I'm not going to harp on this one little response. Or you won't give a certain group of characters a name, even though they speak, because it's like, it didn't change the story. They're just in it to bounce off characters. And I would say that maybe the last or fourth thing is don't be lazy. And if you're giving a note, don't let your friend and your fellow creative take the easy way out. Like, push them hard. Say, hey, man, your name's on this. Like, this is going to live forever. Your name is on this. Like, make it great. Try to make it great. Don't just give us repeated action text or repeated dialogue because it was easy to do and you're trying to go fast. Like, have some care to it. It's your baby, as we've said a few times on this podcast before, and just treat it as such. And here you go. That's it.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's, I guess, you're definitely speaking to the writer, and I guess my perspective is speaking to the note giver. And for me, it's that idea that Jerry Maguire, right? Help me help you.
Yeah.
First thing is, so number one, who's the audience for this?
Yep.
Number two, it would be nice to have notes from the writer that says, my intention at this scene, right? Not every line, but the scene is for the audience to feel this.
Yeah.
And that number three is, what is the intention of the writing itself? Is it for you to produce it yourself? Because now I know, again, resources, right? What is this going to cost? What is it going to do? Is it for a contest, right? What is that? So then I can give the right note based off of the intended outcome.
Yes.
So I can say, hey, yeah, if you're going to do this on your own, you might need to reconsider how you did that. If it's just for a contest, then maybe the writing was great. Someone else can pick it up, that type of thing. So I would say those are the three things that, as the note giver,
those are great.
I would love to have.
I think those are great. I think those happen before the note. I think that's like the email when someone's asking you, to give the note. But it's so necessary. You need all that stuff. And by the way, if you're the note giver, since you're taking it from that POV, and you give like a really bad note, and notes that aren't focused on that, notes that are opinion based and aren't sort of like linked to the reality of shooting a thing, once they tell you those intentions, then the penalty for that is huge. And so I think also, as a creative, if you have a circle of trust and someone's reaching out to you to give a note, really give it your all and keep these things in mind, because once you give a bad note a time or two, that person won't ask you to give notes again. They also won't invite you to anything they're doing creatively because they won't trust your taste. And then beyond that, they'll make sure through back channels that everybody knows that you give dog shit notes. Yep. And so it's a real peril to give a bad note if you're not careful. So yeah, if you're going to give a note, take it seriously as the person writing something is. So yeah, I love that POV. All right, let's talk about.
Yeah, we're going to slide into something different.
Let's talk about something different here. Something. Well, look, let me set it up, because people
go ahead, man.
People don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm going to let them know. So I'm going to let them know what I want to talk about.
We are releasing a archive episode on the podcast. And we have released it, actually. By the time you listen to this, it'll be with our friend, director, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, Frederick Taylor. And he brings up a lot of things that we never really got a chance to address on the original interview. And he's a very entertaining guy. Like, the way he talks about things is very entertaining. And I actually texted with him recently, and I owe him a phone call. So, Frederick, if you're hearing this, I hope I've called you by now. But I owe him a phone call. But I thought, this is a good chance to speak to some of this, especially in a changing society. So, Nick, how about that for a segue? I'll hand it to you there. We're in a changing society, and now is a good time to address some of these things that Frederick said way back in, I think, 2022. Believe it or not.
Yeah, and it's no accident, right?
Blows my mind, by the way.
Yeah, and this isn't just a repost or republish of an episode, and I hope that everyone has listened to it. If they haven't, please do. Episode with Frederick Taylor, because that content continues to be evergreen. The conversation continues to be evergreen. And there's a lot of this conversation about race. And as Chris and I obviously are two African-American males.
What?
Right, exactly. People are like, wait, what? It is a topic that we would like to discuss. And we love the fact that we've got such a diverse team here that we can have different perspectives on the topic. And, Frederick and you, Chris, during this conversation brought up a couple different things that I thought were interesting. And there's 2 points that are really related to one another that I want to talk about as a starting point.
And just to clue in the audience, this was an interview that was a one-on-one between me and Frederick, and Nick and Papa Bear and Sam were not on the podcast. So that's what Nick means when he says that. All right, go ahead.
Yep. So the first one, and I'm not directly quoting, but basically he said, my struggles, so Frederick said this, my struggles begin when I try to take a position of power. And what he meant by that is when he tries to take a position of being a director or maybe producer on a project, that's when the no's start to come in. He gets more no's when he's in that position.
The nose, Pinocchio.
There you go. Versus the types of positions that he might be more subordinate, right? If you're holding a camera or a light or you do an audio or something that is, there's a director or producer who's over you. He's found that it's easier to get those opportunities. Mm. And you start to question why, right? So as a brown-skinned person, you always have this thing in the back of your head. This is another point that was made during that conversation, which is basically, well, did I get the no because of my resume, or did I get the no because of my race? Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to know whether or not it was one or the other, or a combination of the two. So it's a difficult place to be, especially in like you're mentioning, we're in an interesting time right now. And we can talk about the fact that, DEI is now almost like a 4-letter word, even though it's a 3-letter acronym, but it's like a 4-letter word in certain places. And people are pulling back from this. Is that going to harm people more? I don't know what this is, because this is something that's existed for a long time. Yeah. So it's that just opening up the discussion about, how do you have that conversation? Like, how do you know, is this a chip on the shoulder that will always be there and will never go away? Is there always an element of resume and race? Like, how do we deal with that?
There's a little bit of a creep going on right now in society where you slowly start to see a little bit more every day a person who wasn't emboldened, let's say 15 years ago, who is now a little bit more emboldened, and they write a thing on social, or they say a thing on social, or they say a thing in public, or they do a thing in public that they probably wouldn't have done a while ago. And I actually don't blame I think people have to own their own shit. Like if you go out and you're an asshole, then that's not someone else's fault. You know what I mean? So that's how I view it. You got to own your own stuff. But I have noticed that. So for example, there was a crime alert, and I follow these sadly, I follow these channels that sort of say, hey, this crime just got solved, or we just arrested these perps. And what I'm seeing now lately more than ever is there'll always be at least one commenter in the comment sections is where the party is, folks. If you didn't know, I'm sure you did. There's always one person in the comment section that says, black guys, surprised. Ha ha ha. And it's like, white people commit crimes too. Why are black guys kill black guys so much? Well, as Dick Gregory used to always say, because they live next to each other. And when you see white people kill somebody, it's almost always a white person, because that's who's next door to them. We kill the people close to us. That's what happens. We fight and interact and live and have community with people who are in our neighborhoods, who are around us every day. It's very strange to drive across 3 or 4 states to go then commit a crime. Right? We call those people serial killers or gangs or whatever, but like, it's not an everyday occurrence. And then, so as you start to see that in society, you get more excuses as a black person or a brown skinned person or minority of any kind to say, why did that happen to me? Right. It gives you a reason for your paranoia to blossom. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
it's
why
true.
did I not get this job? Okay. So that was, I just wanted to set that up. Now, the other thing is this. Sometimes you don't know the bigger picture of a hire, and you've been given the wrong signal. And I know for us, for example, we've had people come through our doors before, not you, Sam, because you're the best, but we've had people come through our doors before, and they get the job, so to speak, especially in the intern space. And they say, well, my resume must have worked pretty well. I did a killer job on that resume. And what they don't know is that we have a bigger contract with a university or two or three. And that part of the contract is we need to take on these people and help them grow in the profession. And so, no, it wasn't your resume. It was that we were going to bring you in no matter what, unless there was something incredibly red flaggish on your resume, unless there was something incredibly red flaggish that happened in the one-on-one interview, the face-to-face for the first time. We're like, that is not good. Can we reset this thing? So for the most part, we're here to enrich people. When we bring in interns, we're here to make them better people. And so I know it's the reverse of what you said, Nick, but it's this thing where, why did I get the job? I got the job because I'm awesome. Pump the brakes. Maybe you don't know the full context of the hiring process, or what the full context of what the whole situation is. That can happen to Black people too.
Yeah, there's a lot of context that goes into it, but I think that sometimes it can also turn into, and I mentioned this to you guys before, like the boy who cried wolf, where it's like every time you don't get an opportunity, you blame it on the fact that you're a certain race, right? Or you're paranoid, you're a woman, or whatever that is.
Rightfully so.
But exactly, rightfully so. But the thing is that, so I've kind of lived my life without the expectation that would happen to me, right? So when things do happen that don't go in my favor, I don't lean into that. Like I've never lent into that.
Yep, me either.
But my eyes were opened, and this is the part that even in early talks with Papa Bear about this, about honesty, like it would be so nice if people were just honest with you to your face. It'd be like, well, you're
talk about giving a good note.
I'm not going to hire you, right?
No.
It'd be so nice. But I have been told this. I've been told by other people of that were not Black that I was intimidating to people. And you guys know me. Like, how am I intimidating? I'm a nice guy. I live my life in service to other people. So how could I possibly be intimidating? And I said this to this person, and the person said, like, Nick, and he said it to me. He was like, he's got this. You're a young African American. I mean, he said it like, I was like, what? Male, and you're confident. You know what you're talking about.
How dare?
And that can be intimidating to people.
That's why.
So the fact that he brought that in there, like, you're a young African American, and I was like, that never would have registered to me.
Yeah.
But that was it. It's like, well, why weren't they listening? Why weren't they open to what I was trying to say? And he sat me down and he just said, I wanted to explain that to you because that is a fact. That is the thing that kind of opened my eyes to this being a possibility. And even though I was raised knowing that it could always be one, I wanted to err on the side of positivity. I wanted to err on the side of merit, right? We've heard a lot now, especially now, of this idea of a meritocracy, right? Get into the positions based off your skills, get into positions based off your experience, get into positions based off of your value. I have all of those things. Yeah. So to be turned away and not to think is because I'm Black, it's a conundrum. Yeah. It's this mystery that I cannot solve until someone was honest with me and said to me, Nick, just so you know, right? It's like my aura, because of my race, is intimidating. It threw me for a loop because the thing is, I can't do anything about that. If you had told me that it was my education, you told me it was my experience, if you told me that I needed to provide value in a different way, if you told me that I needed to wear different clothing, I can change all of those things. But as soon as you tell me that what makes me intimidating is my race.
What do you do with that?
What do I do?
Well, we're lucky enough to have like sort of multi-generational takes here. Now, Papa Bear, you obviously were married to a black person for 35 years. I don't know if that's obvious to the audience, but Papa Bear was married to a black person for 35 years. And this was a whole different generation. The world was a different place. And you have, I'm sure, some stories about real discrimination versus faux discrimination. Can you remember any time where, from your POV as a white person, where you saw true discrimination versus invented discrimination? Do you have stories of both that you can?
Well, as far as anecdotes, I mean, there were all kinds of small little things, from social discrimination to more formal kinds of discrimination, like getting a loan, or going into a restaurant and not being ignored. You know how there's always someone up front ready to seat you.
Yeah.
And we would go in together and standing shoulder to shoulder, and they would say, "Oh, sir, can I table for one?" No, table for two.
Yeah.
But so there were all kinds of little things. Some of it undercurrent kinds of things, and then, like I said, more formal things like getting approved for various things. So, but when Nick mentioned that the guy told him honestly that he was a threat, the first thing I thought
Or
of is
intimidating. Let's just be clear.
Well, intimidating.
Let me be clear.
Well, that's a kind of threat.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind to me was what he was intimidated about is, are you coming after my job?
Yeah.
Because, like Nick said, he doesn't, he speaks well, he's educated, he's qualified, he has all the merit, but yet not getting the job. So that's the threat, is that, well, if you're as good as I am, you may be better. And people don't want to give up their turf.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I've
heard that before, by the
with
way,
you
Nick,
on that. But the challenge
you
is,
can't be too smart when you walk to the interview.
But why did he include? Again, I'm not trying to get a job. This is just a matter of getting people to do the right thing, building coalitions, right, which is a part of being in a workforce. And there was this resistance to building the coalition. So PB could be right from that perspective that, oh yeah, maybe he's better than me and maybe he'll take my job. Why was my race brought up in the conversation? Why was it?
Place? Yeah.
Exactly. If they had said everything, your education, your confidence, your track record, these things are intimidating. If they had just stopped at that, right, it would have been perfect. But they added in young African-American male who has all of those things.
Confident.
Why is that so intimidating? What is it about that aspect that
there's a long history of social stigma there. It's like anything else. And it's that history. You're supposed to be afraid of black people from a white person standpoint. So I think that is just history and tradition that's not going to go away until we do have more equality, more mixing. And, we've gotten to the point now where everybody's going to be mixed at some point, And so then what do you put your finger on? So it's not going to be forever.
Yeah. Yeah. These are things that I think about. These are things that Chris obviously thinks about. These are things that you've lived, PB, and I'm curious about, Sam. I'm curious about, is it even a thought for you?
Yeah, is it
Sam?
post, is it post-race, or does hip-hop and all the music and the entertainment that you consume give you an image of black people? It's a good,
Or did you even think about it? Do you even think about the fact that this, because what I just mentioned, Sam, can create the chip on your shoulder, right? Which I was raised not to. I was raised to be aware that I could be treated in a negative way by people who are racist. That period. Raised to be aware that it could happen. But then as soon as it happens, right, when you're made aware specifically, whether something overt or you have a conversation like I had, you immediately get a chip. It's just there. Like, you can never get rid of it because now you're aware that this is happening to you, and it could be in any situation at all. So when you think about, I don't know, setting up a team to make a film, to write something, to do something, when you see kids in your class trying to attempt something, like, is race even part of your zeitgeist, right? Are you even considering it at all?
I mean, no. Like, it's not at all something I would consider, especially when it comes to giving someone a job. You know, it comes down to who can perform the job the best. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what it needs to come down to. It doesn't matter, you know, what you look like, your gender, your race, anything like that. I mean, it's that simple. And I think that is something that a lot of younger people now and a lot of my friends, like, are kind of raised with, you know, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily fading away, but it definitely is changing, and I think it's perspective. You know what I mean?
Did you know anybody in high school that wasn't raised like you, though? How did you handle that?
Yeah.
Could you be a little more specific?
Like, just wasn't raised to do it off merit or whatever, but was sort of raised to see those colors, see those differences.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think that I didn't necessarily associate with those people the closest. Right. I definitely knew of people that thought in that manner, but I think that those people are not going to do as many things as the other people, if that makes sense. I'm trying to phrase it the right way, but you see what I'm saying? Like, I think that is a limiting factor. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good way to put it. So it's interesting. Like, so it's a limiting factor to have a limited mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. But here's the thing, Sam. So this is now kind of, your statement is perfect, and a perfect segue into this idea of DEI, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it becomes more challenging for your generation to consider DEI in the way that maybe it's been sold, to consider it being necessary. Because you're like, no. I'm going to give the best person the shot. Like, it doesn't matter. But the DEI thing is all about, look, there's so many people who have been not just overlooked, but they've not been given the chances that other people have to even get to the level that they're qualified.
Disenfranchised.
Exactly. So there's this idea that they've been disenfranchised, which now puts them in a position to not be the best. Mm-hmm. So you have an opportunity to open your door to someone who is not at the top of the meritocracy, but the person who has been disenfranchised. And by being around you and other people who are of merit, they have an opportunity now to reach that level.
Yeah.
That's difficult to do because you, Sam, want to be successful. And you, Sam, want people around you who are successful. It's very challenging to now take someone else on who is not on the level, but you're doing so because that person has been disenfranchised. So I'm really curious as how that's going to play out with the younger generation. Will they reach down a little bit below their standard because of that, or do you just go completely on merit? It's a challenge, man. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest.
Well, it's interesting because Papa Bear talked about loans. Like, that's equivalent to me to a job, right? Like, you leave that bank not knowing, was that because I was black or because I just really didn't qualify? Because there's a lot of language around getting a loan. There's a lot of, like, terms you don't understand and jargon you don't understand. And you're like, maybe I really wasn't qualified for this. And there was a story that came out about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where a lady was given by a factor of six figures valuations on her home that were lower than they actually were. And the only way The only way that she caught the appraisers doing this, basically devaluing her home, was that she had a white friend go in and pose as the owner, and the valuations were higher every single time there was a white person there by a factor of 6 figures. And so that's a way you can really find out. Now, obviously, there's been black people for decades are like, no, I didn't get the loan because I'm black. I know that because my friend over here is white, and and he got the loan, and we're the same.
Worked at the same factory with me.
Yeah. So we do know there are those examples, but yeah, that's kind of how you have to find out. And it goes back to the old trope of, what would happen if I dressed up as a black guy all day, or what would happen if I dressed up as a white person all day? How would I be treated, differently? Would I be able to hail a cab? The old Chappelle thing, and even Soul Man, which can't ever be made again, but like that movie. So, like you wonder what that other experience might be, and you're just never really quite all the way sure. But I do like the opening advice of, if it doesn't happen for you, don't let that stop you. Don't take it to heart. Just go to the next thing, because like Sam said, that's a limiting mindset. So they can only go so far. So that's even if they're like the hiring manager, maybe that's as far as they go. And you might have your eyes set a lot further than that.
Yeah, and I think the opportunities for
your sites.
I think the other opportunities, Sam, for like DEI specifically, like it doesn't always have to be race based. I think that's when it gets really challenging. I think that there are many disenfranchised and marginalized communities, even for people who look just like you. Right, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be I got to hire a brown person, right? True. It could be that community has been disenfranchised, and you're giving opportunities to that community. But it's just a balance, because there is that idea that, like you said, you want people around you that are of merit. And I think where the challenge comes is it your duty to give a handout to those who've been disenfranchised or not? And I think that's where the battle really is in this current society, is that I think that over the past several years, through many different types of, it's the idea of the woke culture or different things like that. It's pushing this on people to say, especially if you're white, cisgender, right, male, it is your duty to make up for the sins of your forefathers.
Right.
It is your duty to offer that hand. Where I think a different way to go about it is to say, hey, there are people who are in need. Those of you who are willing and able to provide an opportunity, please do. And if you're willing to do that, we can point you in the direction of folks who need your help. They may be brown skinned, they may be white skinned, they may be light skinned. It doesn't matter. They may be men, women, whatever that is. I think that going with that approach might actually help even people like yourself who are like, yeah, right, you've given me the option. You're not forcing it down my throat to do anything, because you, Sam, want to be successful. Your friends want to be successful. You want to have those people around you, but you also want to potentially have the option of helping. But you don't want to be, chastised for not doing it. Like, make it your choice.
We're asking other humans to not be human, to basically not have bias and see the world a little bit more clearly. And DEI is it's a tough one, man, because the actual practice of DEI versus sort of the talking points are so vastly different.
Exactly. I'm with you 100% on that.
I led a DEI team at a corporation years ago, right after George Floyd was murdered, and all the black people were incensed and upset, and we wanted to join together and form a coalition and really get the attention of the C-suite and all the stuff, and we did that. But as months went by, it started being less and less about being black and American. It started every diverse person around started to come in. Yeah, so you started to realize, wait a second. You have to ask the question, is being black the same as being gay? Is being black the same as being trans? Is being black the same as being handicapped and not from birth or from birth? Is being black
being female?
Yeah, is being black the same as being female? That's probably closer. Is being black the same as being bipolar? So we had people that they were diverse because they had a mental illness.
Yep.
Or so they were working through. Or is an ADHD person the same as a black person? And before I knew it, all the black people were dropping out. It wasn't about that anymore. It wasn't about them anymore. And it became trivial. And just like a lot of isms on paper that sound great, they just don't work in the real world, because once you add people to it, things can get a little choppy and a little weird really fast.
The movement was diluted and lost all of its flavor.
Yeah.
So the other thing, Chris, that I want to talk about that kind of goes along with this is, I think it's interesting, because you and I have talked
what else
about
did Frederick
before,
say?
Which is, this is an us. This is an us thing,
this is an us
which
thing.
is,
all right.
Like, what makes a black movie, right? Yeah. And you and I have kind of chopped up about this a little bit, and it's like, I think about it, I'm like, from my perspective, like, what is a black movie? I think
tomorrow night they are doing a celebration of Black Dynamite, Nick. I wish you were in town. I wish you were in town. I saw that and I thought of you right away. I was like, oh my God, he would totally be there.
Dynamite.
And they're doing a screening of Black Dynamite.
Yeah, it's classic. That's classic.
Yeah,
so
anyway.
So what I think about when I think about black movies is, I think about, okay, if the majority of the primary cast, right, is African American, and you're talking about something that is specific to the African American culture, right? So I think about that being a black movie. And when I do that, I'm kind of saddened, because then I think about the movies that have primarily white characters in white situations. I'm like, is that a white movie? I'm like, are all James Bond movies white movies? You know what I'm saying?
How come if you're a black director, you don't have an all-white cast?
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say, Chris, because you mentioned this before.
Why is that not possible?
Well, some people think about a black movie being, if you have a black director, then it's a black movie. So, like, what is it, right? And
should we have a black movie?
Well, I mean, that's a fair question. I think question, about right? BET. Right.
Yeah.
And I think about what the goal was to promote some folks that are artists that were not being promoted on other channels. You needed a BET because the talent was there in the black community that might not have been shown on MTV, because everybody watched MTV. Yeah. Right. So we needed something if we were not going to be promoted on MTV. There needed to be another angle.
Yeah.
I think the challenge for me in that, Chris, is that
all you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
It would have been nice for them to create something that didn't say black in it.
Yeah.
That's the key. That, like, it didn't have to be just.
But then you end up with a euphemism like urban entertainment television.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. So now
we know what urban means,
right? It means black. So what I'm saying is, like, it would have been so, because I will tell you that I think the balance to MTV and. I don't know how much Sam knows about this. Chris, you'd be the one who would push back on me if necessary. I felt like VH1 was potentially more the balance to MTV. Like, I feel like they had more diverse artists on VH1.
You mean from a music video standpoint?
Yeah, from a music video standpoint.
Before they all went to reality TV, because all of those networks just do reality TV now.
Yes, before then, I feel like that was the answer to some of the artists not showing up on MTV and giving us another platform. But I feel like when we went to straight up black entertainment television, that then created a rift. Because I honestly, like, if you think about our generation, Chris, and the generations before, and PB, please chime in, but I felt like there was just music. Like, remember, Chris, you and I listened to 9 Inch Nails, bro. Like, we listened to Pearl Jam. We listened to Eddie Vedder. Like, we did all the things. We listened to Alanis Morissette. Like, that was cool then for us to know all of the artists that were outside of urban or hip hop or rap. We all knew those artists.
Especially if you love music.
I feel like Exactly. But I feel like when Black entertainment television came out, there was an excitement about it because now I got to see Erykah Badu's video show up.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I didn't realize what was happening. I didn't realize that now, if you have a Black director, you got a Black film.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was coming.
Morgan Freeman believes that there should be no such thing as Black History Month. And then you get on the other side of that where there's a lot of Black leaders that would say you absolutely need it because otherwise you're not going to learn anything about the education and history and contributions of Black people to America. And what Morgan Freeman means is just, hey, isn't American history also Black history? Like where we built the country, quite literally, there's every important monument, it feels like in downtown Nashville where I'm at, was built by Black people, like slaves. And so, including the Hermitage Hotel. So what the question is, what side of that divide, do you live on when you're answering the question, what makes for a Black movie? Right. And should there be a Black movie at all? Or should there just be a movie? And this is Sam's generation that'll probably determine this. Right. And it should have been ours. But it's, based on what Sam just said, it's like, no, it's just a movie with Black people in it.
Or I don't know, Sam.
Or the director just happens to be Black, and that's cool.
But let's throw it to Sam. Sam, is Creed a Black movie? He took too long to answer, so the answer is yes.
I would say yes. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't get away from it. But is Rocky a white movie?
Yeah.
Rocky might not be a good example. Yeah,
I'm just saying. But listen, like, I don't think it's a white movie. I mean, that Rambo, Rocky.
But before we say white and Black, Nick, we would say it's a boxing movie.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we'd say that.
But
about
isn't Creed a boxing movie?
Yeah, we'd say that.
No,
first.
it is. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is that I don't think that that's what people are saying about Creed, because as soon as you have a Black director, you've got Black lead actors. It's a Black movie. It's going to get promoted on Black things. Where is it going to get its awards? It's going to get its awards at the BET Awards. It's not going to get its awards at the Oscars.
Well,
it's not even going to have a chance.
No, I'm not saying, but it was for Sylvester Stallone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, yeah. And he almost
See what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. So it becomes a Black movie. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay. Like Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. It's got the word Black in it.
Just going to say that. But it's an Avengers movie. Mm-hmm. But is it a Black movie? Yeah, it's a Black movie, man, because it's all Black people, and all Black people were promoting it. Did you see the white people? I didn't see white people promoting this movie. I'm sorry. I did not see that. I might have missed it. Sam, did I miss it?
Do white people own these corporations that are paying for the promotion? So, I mean,
but
in a way.
You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it becomes by default. But we don't have the default of a white movie. I never considered any of the Bond movies. I never considered any of the Al Pacino movies.
You know what a white movie is?
Like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Hello, Miss Sunshine. Or Miss Sunshine. That's a white movie.
Little Miss Sunshine?
Yeah, Little Miss Sunshine. That's a white movie. Like, if we had to say, like, what's a white movie? That's a pretty... You got to be white to just even relate.
I don't know, because
Juno might be a white movie.
I know, but Chris, you do
Juno's,
that, and I guess you're mixed.
Juno's Vanta white.
You get to do that because, but like, I enjoy Juno. I enjoy Little Miss Sunshine, right?
I like both of
but you can't. You're not allowed to talk because you're half white. So you know what I'm saying. but it does. What is, like, honestly, like, you look at the old, what are these movies? The old romance, the rom-coms. Right, you could easily say that these Love Actually,
Love Jones,
Notebook,
Love Jones is a Black movie. Love Actually is a white movie.
Right,
but if you took us all back to the time when we were watching Love Actually when it first came out, no one would have called it a white movie. Everybody was watching that. Everyone at that age, at that time,
it was a great movie. And did anybody care that the white best friend was trying to steal the Black guy's wife?
Like, no. but listen, that's what I'm saying. So it's just weird to have that, like,
just interesting to throw that in there if you're Love Actually.
It's weird to have this,
and they were careful because it probably could have been the other way around, and then it would have messed the whole movie up.
maybe it would have been a black movie.
I'm saying exactly. I think it would have messed. I promise you, it would have messed it up for the audience if those roles happened to be reversed. That's what I mean. So Sam, do you? Sam, you were talking about this.
Movies that are popular movies like a Creed or Black Panther or Fences or whatever. Like, these are all movies that have black casts. Like, do you consider them? Like, do you feel that when you see it? Do your friends think about these movies like, oh yeah, it's a black movie? Maybe you want to watch it anyway, but do you have that sense that these are black movies because of the cast and the director?
Well, I think that I think of them as a different perspective, but I don't necessarily put that label on it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, like, viewing something like Sing Sing from last year, that's a completely different perspective and a completely different
I never thought of it as a black movie.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but it's got all black people in it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And it deals with a lot of those race relations, right?
Yep, it does.
But I never thought of it that way.
It's a musical prison thing. Like, it's a really original movie. Like, there's nothing like it, really.
Oh, absolutely.
But Sam, tell Nick the story you told me the other day about Brad Pitt and Will Smith in the movie.
Oh, yeah. So I'd heard the story a while ago. My dad told me about this again recently, but so Seven, David Fincher, fantastic movie, right? It has Morgan Freeman as the lead, basically, and Brad Pitt under him as kind of like a protege. But initially, and a lot of the movie's built on that, right? It's built on this relationship between a fledgling Brad Pitt, who was at that point in his career. Ascending, that was the word we used, ascending. It was an ascending Brad Pitt playing an ascending cop, right? So they mirrored themselves. The real life career of Brad Pitt mirrored this cop's.
Ascending cop with a master. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And apparently in the initial draft of the movie, or early in kind of production, they were going to have Denzel Washington.
Oh, Denzel,
play Brad Pitt's character. And had they done that, might have been a good movie. It wouldn't have been Seven. It wouldn't have worked. Not in the way that it worked because of Brad Pitt and because of that dynamic.
Yep.
So,
and I was telling Sam that America loves a good-looking upstart white guy and an older, aging out, wisdom-filled black guy. Saw it in Lethal Weapon. The trope is there in Hollywood all the time. You have the young leading man, usually white, and it's cool to couple him with a Samuel L. Jackson. Like, Hollywood loves an old black
Morgan
man.
Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
I'll give you another Morgan Freeman one, Chris, for you to consider. With
James Earl Jones, you name it.
But think about how different Shawshank Redemption would have been.
That's what I was thinking.
If they took it directly from the most important character was Morgan Freeman's character. I think they did a good balance. But what if the entire film was from the perspective of Morgan Freeman?
It would have failed. And it already failed in the box office. It just got popular on the as it went
but
on.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you just think about that. Like, if they have done that one thing, they just flipped it. But you're right. That was the zeitgeist, is that you do want this either up and coming or this handsome, white character who you feel is more the lead.
Now, I just want to be clear,
to balance this out as well. But it's a really interesting thought.
It's really interesting because, like, I want to be clear so Sam doesn't get hate mail. Sam's not saying that the movie would have been different because Denzel is a black guy. He's saying that the way Denzel performs is different than the way Brad Pitt performs.
Right.
And so
he was an established actor. I mean, he was at a different
power
point.
Players. Yep.
Exactly. He was at a different point in his career than Brad Pitt was. Brad Pitt was able to play this, full of energy, very excited. And not to say Denzel wouldn't, but he was able to play this very youthful character that was spry and, eager. Denzel was going to play a character, or you'd think, that comes across as a lot more advanced. Someone
seasoned.
That is exactly seasoned. That's what I was looking for. But someone that knows the role more than I think they needed for that dynamic and for the narrative that they had for the movie.
Because remember, Brad Pitt has to get fooled at the end.
Yeah,
exactly.
But listen, outside of all that, guys, we have to understand that Hollywood is a business and celebrity is a business.
Yeah.
It's part of the business of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the ascension of Brad Pitt at the time you want a Brad Pitt in your movie, bro. Like that is
still do.
That is going to sell tickets like you don't even believe. So that's also part of it. So I think, Sam, you're spot on with the actors, the difference in the actors. But I think that there's also the piece of, you're right, Brad Pitt was on the ascension. Having his face in that movie at that time was perfect, especially for what that movie was.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance. You have a heartthrob in a movie like that. I think that gave perfect balance to what Seven actually was. So,
and we can say that in retrospect because the movie worked out and it's become an all-time classic. In the moment, I bet that was an incredibly difficult decision to make, and I think it honestly probably isn't Seven for a lot of reasons, not just the one that Sam mentioned. If Denzel's in there instead of Brad Pitt, because of the way America is in certain pockets and what they'll buy a ticket for, unfortunately. And
well, that's another thing. I think that I hate to, like, oh man, I hate to. It sucks. Like, I hate to bring it up. Like, the first thing I think of, dang it, is just the idea of the level of sympathy you had for Brad Pitt versus what America's sympathy would have been for Denzel.
Yeah. Especially if you keep the same dynamic. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's in the actual movie of the wife.
Let me upset the apple cart a little bit here. This may leave Sam out historically, but I'll get him back in there. Was Amos and Andy black television? And then think about, do we need to talk about Tyler Perry and the Medea?
You talking about blackface? You talking about blackface?
The Medea series. Is that modern day Amos and Andy?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, are the Little Rascals offensive today?
Because the stereotypes are just carried over.
I don't know. Like, it's you're right, exactly.
No. But here's the thing. So let me go with this. PB, you tell me, and then Chris can chime in on this as well. But okay, so Amos and Andy,
all black cast.
Okay, but did they start out that way? Didn't Amos and Andy start out as a radio show with two white guys?
I think so.
Right, and then it converted. So it was blackface that they then got black people to blackface.
Yeah. Okay.
So then you go to, so it was intentionally stereotypical. Okay. Then you go to Medea. And I think with Tyler Perry, we gotta have to have Tyler Perry on to have the discussion. But when I watch Medea, I don't think stereotypical. I think it is this amalgamation of people they grew up with in the South, because I have Medeas in my family. No one as crazy as that. Like, he's got to ramp that up where he takes Medea from someone who is down for their family and do whatever, and he turns her into a clown. Like, everybody knows that. It's a clown character. But everyone around her is really more, they're not stereotypical. They are people from the South. It's how people talk to each other. It's the language that they use, the vernacular. It is some of the struggles that they went through as African Americans. Medea is a clown, and everyone is commenting on her being a clown. Remember, if you watch it, no one really likes what Medea does. Everybody's always mad. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's mad at what Medea does. They're like, stop that, cut that crap out. Like, you're embarrassing me. They're all in that space. But she feels like she's doing what's necessary to help everybody. And she has to learn lessons in every story, or she's the clown that they have to teach. So that's where I feel like it's a little bit different from Amos and Andy, because Medea is intentionally a clownish figure that the real people around her are trying, and they're going through real struggles. Amos and Andy, I feel like, again, was the white radio show intentionally stereotyping that then turned into an actual show where they got people, black folks, to just continue the stereotype.
Yeah, they're still stereotyping, but it's actually.
Yeah, and I have to give Tyler Perry his props, because he parlayed what he got off of those films to create this production empire that he's got in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area. And why did he have to do that? It's because the studios wouldn't have him. So,
but remember, he started those out as plays. So the character of Medea was something that was highly accepted by folks in Atlanta who went to see his plays.
Yeah.
And it was because of the success of the play that it's like, okay, let's do a film, right? And that became successful. The same people who saw his plays were already ready to buy those tickets. So they were already accepting of this character that was, again, outlandish. It was the clownish version of everyone that people knew. So that's what, if you look at those Medea movies, take every character that's outside of Medea, add them together, clown them up. That's Medea.
Well,
right? Well, so everyone could see a little part of their family in Medea. And I think that's why it was okay. And everyone recognized what she was for what she was, the character.
I'll say this. I don't think that the studios wouldn't have him, PB. I mean, he's been in a lot of movies as an actor. It wasn't that he was boxed out, but it goes back to something I've said a few times over the years here, and I don't remember which episode.
Wasn't boxed in.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: people in the indie film space, for example, they don't view themselves as competing against studio filmmaking. And then nothing could be less true. Like we're all competing for the same eyeballs, the same attention. Like a studio is working day and night and has endless money and resources to do this. And this is why we have the film world we have. They're working nonstop to make sure that the right laws, procedures, regulations are all in place to make sure that making films is advantageous for them and not for you, whether it be the inability to recoup for marketing expenses, whether it be the insider deal that basically camera companies like Red and Ari have with film rental companies and studios, where they get the best cameras first before they can be sold to individuals at all, right? My friend Hollis told me a story about him getting his hands on an RA35 early, and this guy named Gunther from Germany, from Ari, called him and said, "How did you get this camera?" And was really trying to get to the bottom of it and harassing him, you need to give the camera back. I'm not giving the camera back. Go to hell, right? and he'd worked some inside channels, and he has a way of doing this. Shout out to Hollis Bennett. But to me, that's crazy. That's the gatekeeper shit that we always talk about. And so I think that's what Tyler was feeling like. Okay, I still have to work for you, and I kind of just want to work for myself. How do I do that? Right? I have to still ask, and I still have to go through your process, and I don't want to go through your process. And the studio's like, well, then you're our competitor. Okay, then let's compete. And now it's on. And that's kind of what's happening.
But they were like, okay, but you can have your little black audience.
Yeah,
we'll have a wider audience.
Let's
go ahead. You do your thing. And he made some money doing his thing. And like you said,
they're not back there cheering for Tyler Perry.
Props,
they're not hoping he succeeds at all.
Props, because he found a model that
huge
worked.
Props, yeah.
And build an empire around it. So now I think this is a good opportunity for us to, really transition to PB and throw some things at us. I think the things
he's got
we
a
should
special
know,
one for us, doesn't he?
Yeah, man, is right around the corner on this.
By the way,
to hear that from PB.
This Things We Should Know is brought to you by the feature film Midas Man. You can watch the trailer on our platform right now. This movie is awesome, by the way. It's really talking about some of the glue behind some of the greatest artists in the sort of early rock era. Especially the Beatles. The Beatles is the one that stands out. So it's a bit of a biopic, and it's really, really cool, really great. I love the attention to detail on. We always talk about you got to have great key art and trailers if you really want to sell a movie as independent. Well, they do all that really great. So you can check out our trailer on the Make It Podcast platform for Midas Man. Go out and see that. You can buy it right now on the where can you get it? Allin.com. OLYN.com.
And check out our links. We've got a link to it.
Check out our links.
Check it out.
Yep. You check it out and make sure you support it. we always talk about it. So you got to support it. You got to put your money where your mouth is. $11.97, I think is what it costs, or $12 to support this. You'd spend $12 at Starbucks right now on that venti. So here's the deal. Midas Man, go get it. OLYN.com.
Chris, you got to stop for a second, man.
Okay.
Check it. I just got to stop this for a second and just got to say that I just wanted to honor one of the parts of our credo. Okay. Now I know that our whole show does this, but right now I wanted to honor the be better part of our credo.
Okay.
Is that cool? Can we do this real quick?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that new filmmakers are always dealing with some sort of existential crisis. Is that fair?
Those are the worst kind of crises.
Crises. So the crisis that I'm thinking about right now is this idea. Okay. I'm going to read this a little bit. It says, how do I get hired without having experience? And how do I get experience without getting hired? Like that is the conversation all the time, it seems, especially when you go to like film festivals, you're in panels. That is what the conversation always is. So how do we address that?
Well, there's a few ways to address it. And it goes beyond film. There's a lot of people that have this existential crisis. But if you are a filmmaker, you can fix this in one way that just comes right to the top of my mind. And it's the Film Crew Technology Program at Columbia State Community College on the Franklin, Tennessee campus. Now, I've been to this campus. This campus is not like a normal community college. This is like beautiful and sprawling and everything is brand new. They do a great job there, but they provide the experience, the training, the knowledge to allow you to just step right into the entertainment workforce and continue in higher education or both even. So you can go there for some other major and still be part of the Film Crew Technology Program, or you can just go there and do film. So the technology certificate allows you to work in the industry while you're getting your degree. So that means they do job placement while you're still in school. So that's huge. So that answers part of that question, at least, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like that's exactly the type of stuff that I think our people need. So you said a lot. Like I know that school's, it sounds awesome. I'm like, hey, I could go hang out there. Yeah. But let's get to the specifics. So like what kind of training do they provide there?
Well, first of all, this is some below the line stuff that you're learning to do so you can be placed. And look, I'll just tell you, as a producer, as producers, we know that not being ready on set, which has a lot to do with your training, your skill set, your speed, actually, tear down, put back up, company moves. That is so important where you went to school to learn how to do that. Are you effective right away? Can we count on you? And so here's some of the training: safety and etiquette training, pre-production training, production training, post-production training, delivery. And so they really train at Columbia State University Community College from pre to post film crew technology. They train below the line workers. These are your gaffers, your grips, your best boys, all that stuff, your lighting, your wiring, you name it. They really train them in the tools of their trade. So here's some of the equipment they have. Now, this is the thing that makes this so legit.
People get excited about this stuff, man. Like this is where people really get excited. It's like, I can get the training, but what you got? What are we using? What are we playing with?
Well, yeah, I've been in their cinema world and they have a lot of stuff. So they have an ARRI Alexa 35 and it's loaded to a 3-ton grip truck, for example. They have sound recording to pre and post-production computer lab, film crew delivery, hands-on experience. So there's a ton of training there, and you're training with state-of-the-art equipment.
Dude, that's awesome. I mean, that's exactly the kind of experience that people would want. But, I got to ask that other question. I know I'm dropping questions on you because I know you got the knowledge.
There's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. I'm just saying, existential crisis, brother. So the next question is, they got any financial aid or scholarships for my people out there, man? It's always, every little bit helps. That's all I got to say.
So you're poor.
No, look, people just need a hand from time to time.
No, I'm kidding. I use financial aid.
That's
Shout
right.
out to Pell Grants. And by the way, Columbia State community college does come with some financial aid and some help. So here's the deal. Columbia State Community College is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And in addition, financial aid is available for those who qualify. So you're in good shape, Nick. You're good to go. You qualify for this. It includes the TN Promise and TN Reconnect programs. So again, this is a campus in Tennessee. It's sprawling. It's beautiful. You don't have to live here to go there. We just want to let everybody know. Enrollment begins each fall semester. Space is limited. Now, this is the key. I was gonna ask, you want that experience. You want that experience. You're having this existential crisis, but you have to act fast. You got to do something for yourself too. And that is what the film industry is all about. It's about putting your head down, going to work, doing something for yourself. So don't wait. There's 20 students each year. They only take in 20. So you need to apply right now. So for more information, you can reach out to friend of the podcast and our friend as well in our personal lives, David Smith. He's the FCT program director. That's the Film Crew Tech program director. You can call him. What a bold man. He is going to let you call him. 615-790-4410. Again, reach out to David Smith, the FCT program director, 615-790-4410. You can email him if I know the young folks today, Nick, they don't call anybody. They don't talk on the phone.
Folks today.
All right, so let's get an email address going.
Yeah.
david.smith@columbiastate.edu. Columbia is spelled COLUMBIA state.edu. And if you just want to, if you're already convinced, if me and Nick have already sold you, just go straight to the website, www.columbiastate.edu/FCT. Again, that's www.columbiastate.edu/FCT. And when you get there, click on Film Crew Application. Remember, slots are limited. There's only 20 spots. Go do that right now. www.columbiastate.edu/FCT. And now, back to the show. With that, Papa Bear, can you give us some things we should know?
Okay. I've actually got a little trilogy here. Not sure whether I should just read all three together. Because they dovetail into one another and then give you the answers or answer them individually. But let's try reading them and taking them all three, starting with who was the first African American to solo host the Academy Awards and in what year?
Solo.
Sidney Poitier.
And then
solo.
Sam, what year? I don't know.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Wait, so the first question is solo host the Academy Awards?
Yep.
First African American to solo host the Academy Awards and in what year?
Okay. I will also go Sidney Poitier.
And then Sam has to give us a year because, he knows better than we do.
I have no idea. I would think it would be more recent than you'd think, though.
79.
Yeah, see, that was my there you go. That's a good
1979 is my guess. Who's the dude?
I was going to say
Harry Belafonte?
Yeah, Harry Belafonte
that might be
would have been. He would have been a great host, right, because of just everything that he does.
He's so entertaining. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to give us all? Do you want to give all the? Let them give all the parts first. Yeah,
I want to go part two.
That's part one.
Second in the trilogy is who was the first woman to solo host the Academy Awards?
Wow.
Solo host, man, dang.
First woman to solo host the Academy Awards. Oh, this is a trick question. It's never happened.
Well, Chris,
it's never happened.
Yeah, and what's crazy, Chris. Because the last Academy Awards was a duo host.
Yeah, no kidding. This probably has happened.
And I like the Harry Belafonte because I don't know that it's a common thing to have someone who is potentially going to win. Because that just happened, right? We can have someone who's going to win an Oscar,
and then also hosting the Oscar. Yeah,
no, definitely not.
Right. So that was when I was thinking about Sidney Poitier, but maybe he just wasn't in anything at the time, which is why he would have hosted it, which is why I also like the Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
But a solo host, female of the Academy Awards.
I'm going to go Ellen DeGeneres.
What's funny about that, Chris, I was going to say, I'm going comedian.
Yeah, I was going to be a comedian.
100% comedian. And I'll echo that.
Ellen DeGeneres, 2004.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Part 3.
Wow.
What woman has hosted the Academy Awards more than any other woman? And how many?
Poehler.
I was going to say, maybe it might be Amy Poehler.
Right? Like, that's the first thing I thought of.
Well, but I don't know. No.
Tina Fey.
Amy, but they're a duo almost always.
They are. Yeah, they come.
And they almost. And I'm pretty sure they usually don't do the Oscars. I know they've done the Oscars, but I thought they usually do Golden Globes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, you and I are on that.
Gilda Radner.
See, I want to go comedian. Mm-hmm. As well. I mean, that you need someone who can hold the audience, right? And that's what they do. They tell jokes. I mean, that's why it's like Sidney Poitier.
You know who do a good job? Queen Latifah.
I think she'd do an amazing
She'd do an amazing job.
Because she sings.
Come on,
too.
Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, she sings too.
Come on, Queen.
Women.
Queen Latifah in there ASAP.
You think it's Ellen again?
I think if it's Ellen, if it's Ellen for the other one, I think it might be Ellen here because. Yeah. But then again, has she done it
more
many
than
times?
Many times is the question.
I don't know,
Papa
man.
Bear's going many times on us.
But look, like this, I'm with you. Like this is one of those where I love the fact that he's always right.
Yeah.
Like this is stuff we should know. Like
how many hermaphrodites have, like he's have hosted the Oscars and then what year?
Let's keep moving.
So that's the 3.
Okay, I don't know.
Here's the kicker.
I would just love to hear the answer. Go ahead.
The answer is the same person for every one of these questions.
Interesting.
See, I didn't know it was an African American woman. I was trying to figure out.
Amazing. We fell for the old riddle where it's like, how did the doctor do the? It's a woman.
It's a female doctor. His mom. Yeah. So, but the thing is that I thought about that. I don't know who that was.
And the answer is.
Hold on.
Pregnant
Anita
pause.
Baker.
Oh.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Who is it?
I'm just kidding.
Anita Baker? How about a candlestick maker?
Yeah. Oh my God. No. I'm just kidding. It's not Anita Baker.
It's Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi. Of course, it's Whoopi. Also a comedian. Yes.
Yeah. We should.
First time in 1994.
God.
I knew it. I kind of knew that it was going to be late. I kind of knew, but I knew it was going to be later than we thought.
Yeah, but we're idiots, bro. Like,
no, 100%.
Whoopi Goldberg, Sam.
No, yeah, I know.
What's the year, PB?
Huh?
What are the 3 years?
The first one was 1994, and like I said, she's hosted more than any other woman, and so she did 94, 96, 1999, and 2002.
So all before I was born.
Yeah, so really the year on the first one should have been the year on the second one then, right?
It was. Yep.
Yeah. So like it's just killing me though because fricka, man. Chris.
I thought I was going to get caught on this one.
What is fricka?
No, bro.
Yeah,
because the thing
that's the kind of word your brain invents when you've slept for 2 days straight.
Dude.
Fricka.
Dude. Guys. We knew
crickets.
The theme of the dag burn things we should know.
Yeah, we did.
Freaking knew.
Yeah, we did actually.
Yo, we are subject to the psychological warfare that is. It's crazy. Like we immediately, as soon as he said African American, we went male.
We went well.
As soon as he went woman, we went white woman. Like, bruh.
What is wrong?
Bruh. Like, God dang it, Papa Bear! Like you didn't, like you just like Emperor has no clothes.
Emperor has
I feel
no
naked.
clothes.
Oh, you mother. Okay.
That's how I feel.
That's how I feel too. Like, but I knew it. See what I'm saying, Chris? Like we knew what the theme of this was. Like we knew, and we still went there. Like we did not even process. Like we should have known. We should have gone straight to that, and we didn't do it. It's, I'm saying it's the perfect things we should know, and it's perfect for this conversation because we're all subject to it, and it's crazy.
Good job, Paul.
That's
that
great.
is definitely a
good
thing
job.
we should know, and we will roll right into not audience polls, but audience poll. Sam has one for us that's going to bring us home. Sam, what is this episode's poll?
Well, it's on topic. Mm-hmm. You know, we're already talking about Oscars. It's a little bit broader than that, but do you watch award shows?
She said, do we watch award shows? And
what are the answers? What are the possible answers?
These broad answers.
Coming in at number one. Mm-hmm. Meh. Here and there.
I like that. Meh.
58%. So almost 60% sometimes. You know, if it's on. Number two, never.
Okay.
28%.
Wow.
28% never.
Coming in at a resounding 13% is yes.
Resounding.
That's rough.
I want to see the Nielsen ratings for each of these shows in 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, because they would have been like, if we had done this poll before, it would have been yes, even across the board.
Even in 2018, I saw a thing about the Grammys where it was like 10 million more in 2018 versus now. Like it was ridiculous.
Social media, because our stars now are not this curated set of people in Hollywood.
Right.
So that's to me why it's like you can give it or take it, because the people I'm watching, Kai Cenat, right? Like he's not getting an award on one of these shows, right? So like that's my celebrity. So why would I watch that?
Well, and I think that even more than that, it's not watching the show; it's checking Twitter and saying, "Oh, okay, well, that's who won. That's what matters." And I think the reason that is because these award shows, you know, they did. I think it was presented 9 awards in a 3.5-hour Grammy ceremony that just happened. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that is. You're right. You're spot on. I mean, I'm going to give you that.
When you have to cut awards for runtime, you have failed.
Yeah.
As an award show, you have failed.
Yeah.
And that's what the Oscars do. They don't cut the awards at the Oscars, but what they do is they cut people off.
Yeah.
And it's gross. You know,
100%. I'm with you on that, man, because I do feel like it's gotten worse over time, and you're almost expecting it. As soon as a person talks past, I don't know, the 5th thank you, you're waiting for that music to start.
Well, also, Nick, you wish and hope they'll just say thank you, right? There's a lot of like hand wringing and guilt, speech that that they use the platform for a way to do social justice, and it's a copycat world. And one guy does it, now the next, and the next, and then before you know it, every speech is a lesson to be learned by the audience. And what the audience in the room feels is so different than what the audience at home watching feels. What we feel is, hey, man, I spent $100 to take my family of 5 to see your movie. Say thank you.
Yeah,
say
it's a captive audience.
Stop telling me about how I'm driving a gas car. It's what I can afford. Stop telling me about animals that are dying when we got kids starving. Say thank you, bro. I spent $100 to watch your film and you won an award. Just say thank you and get the hell out of here.
Well, let me give you one more, Chris. I think
that's not universal. Well, we do want to hear it when it's eloquent, but it's like when every person's doing it, it's too much.
But there's one more thing that I've found recently that I feel like is different. Again, Sam, Chris, Papa Bear, tell me if I'm wrong. But I've also seen this weird fumbling and mumbling where some of my favorite actors receive an award, not actors, this is celebrities, filmmakers. And they're like, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, all right, cool. Thank mom. I've got to thank my mom. And then, my wife. Yeah. But it's like, God, why are you? God, but why are you mumbling and fumbling like you?
And they're doing it in an ironic way.
They'll pull out the napkin or whatever.
Exactly, and it's like, what are you doing?
You had it planned. I mean, come on, right? Like
you've done this 1,000 times. You're a celebrity. Like, stop fumbling and mumbling and make this what I expected from you as the celebrity that came here to watch. I was rooting for you. Don't come up and say some dumb shit. Like that's what I mean. It's like you have to be eloquent in the moment because I'm watching you because you were above everything else. Yeah. You were greater than.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm here. And if you don't operate in that way, then yes, why do I need to be here?
You know what I'm wondering?
What's that?
I'm wondering if the results of Sam's poll explains for us the increased bizarreness of the fashion on the red carpet to get more eyeballs on the TV. I mean,
maybe
the red carpet fashion is getting crazier and crazier.
Maybe it's a fruitcake. If you get what I'm putting down there, PB, that it's a bunch of different things all jammed into one cake of disinterest. I mean, I think the fumbling and bumbling Nick's talking about, there's a way to do that where it's endearing. And we like the fumbling and bumbling. There's a way to do it that's more ironic, and we're like, sort of.
There you go. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm in the camp that Sam's in.
Manufactured
they know what
endearment.
They're doing.
Yeah.
Sam, you were going to say something.
Sam, what were you going to say?
Oh, just spit your gum out before you go up on stage. I talked to you about this, Chris, but I don't. It happened at the Grammys. Do not chew gum accepting your award. It's
dismissive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Again, you're supposed to be the upper.
Yeah,
exactly. You're supposed to be the upper echelons of artistic society.
Yeah,
act like it.
Yeah,
and I think 100%. That's it. But so the other thing is, Sam, these. It's hard to remember. So like the last Academy Awards. Like, who was the musical talent?
Oh, well, it's actually interesting. They're not doing it this year, which would make for an interesting show. But it was, I mean, they always do.
Like the 4 that are nominated.
Well, it's more than that. It's like 6,
or 6 that are nominated.
Yeah,
but then they do more. They do like they'll have like special. I remember a couple years ago.
They always do the in memoriam stuff, but Sam,
right? Like Queen,
who was it?
Queen performed a couple of years ago.
We don't remember, right?
That's what I'm saying. Just answer. Like, who was it? I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
The performer. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But that was part of it. That's what I mean is exactly at these awards. Like it was something you would never have. This is the only time, and I'm just going to take it back, right?
Pee.
If I see Eminem perform like that at that time, like Eminem is performing, I'm watching this because this is a concert. I get to see Eminem perform at this thing, or this star is going to do a thing. I want to see that because that's the only time to see it. But as they start to cut all this stuff down to just 9 awards and 9 speeches, and they're cutting them off and going to commercial, it's not an event like it was anymore. Honestly, kids are more excited for the freaking Fortnite live event than they are for the Grammys.
Yeah. But is the audience kids? I don't think it is. I think most people that watch those award shows are between probably 35 and 65.
No, I agree with you. Right? I'm just talking about the excitement.
But that's a problem, right? You want the young generation to sort of enjoy. Right.
You have. I used to have that even as a younger person, whether I was a kid or in my 20s, whatever it was. There was that excitement. I wish I could feel the excitement for these award shows that my son feels for a freaking Fortnite 20-minute live thing, right? I'm like, bro, this is okay. But all right.
the thing that I think is important there is that is his equivalent, though. Yes. You know what I mean? So you've already felt that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
He's never felt that.
Right,
so when Travis Scott's performing in Fortnite, right, exactly, yeah. It was a darker time.
It was a darker. That's exactly right. There was no Fortnite. There was
right.
So I really think it's the political thing, like, because you're not talking about losing your audience from 14 to 25-year-olds or 14 to 34-year-olds. You're really losing the middle if you're the Academy Awards. So that's where your ratings drop has happened. You basically, everybody that's leaning moderate to the right most likely has stopped watching. They think they're all part of Pizzagate and some other insane conspiracy theory. Or they're tired of being talked at. I have friends like this where everything you say, because of your position in society or whatever it is, and you certainly have this if you're a celebrity, that now everything you say is talking down to. You're talking down to them, and it's like, it's not true. It's just their own perception, their own self-worth issue, where they're like, oh, you're talking down to me. No, I'm trying to get you motivated to do a thing in the world socially. And so these people are like, just get off stage, like, say your thank you. Don't teach me a lesson. I had a hard day as it is. And then this Chris Rock, Will Smith slap thing, I think also just took it over the top in terms of how unserious it is and how, like you said, Nick, not eloquent. It has the potential for disgrace. Like baked within it. I think the fact that they let him come up and still win the award and give the speech. Yeah. So, it's not, then you had the Moonlight thing where that
was horrible.
That was horrible.
So that's where these people have gone.
Standard.
Right. That's where these people have gone.
Standard.
These people have said,
so
you know what, enough of this thing.
But even the host, Chris, that's a challenge that I have. It's different because of social media, and it's different because of the diversity of the platforms that we have to find celebrity. That once upon a dream, our celebrities were curated. Yeah. So if Steve Martin was going to host, we were all in.
Steve Martin's the best.
We're all in.
Martin Short's the best.
Everyone was in.
I would be in for a Jiminy Glick hosted Oscar.
Yeah, but this last one, you're like, the comedian, again, Sam, if you remember her name, I didn't follow her. I don't listen to her. I don't watch her stand up. I don't know anything about her. And then
she does Amy Schumer?
No, the last was the
she was good. Nikki Glaser.
Nikki Glaser.
That was the Golden Globe. Someone watches the Golden Globe.
I know, but listen. Yeah. I don't follow Nikki Glaser. Like, she has a great following and she does things, but she's not a Steve Martin. Remember, again, it's different zeitgeist. Everyone knew Steve Martin. I don't know Nikki Glaser.
You'd have to get Theo Vaughn to do it.
Different generations,
But you see what I'm saying? Yeah. You have to find that person who is either broad enough or can bring the younger audience into the conversation,
right? In
order to make it work now. There's no person, honestly, who's the comedian now that everyone loves?
John Mulaney. Maybe John Mulaney. I think he can maybe get away with it. I think that's why now, and they would never admit this, but that's why they don't do hosts at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And are they doing it? I don't know if they're doing a host this year. I don't think they are. I think they're
skipping it.
I think they went hostless.
Everybody knows Chappelle, but not everybody loves him.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
It's not you got it. So that's what I'm saying. It's like,
he would kill.
We don't have that anymore.
He would be absolutely awesome.
But we don't have
tell
that
that
anymore.
by how he does the monologues on SNL alone.
SNL, he's polarized. So the thing is that, again, you just don't have that to bridge the gap. And I feel like that's one of the challenges we have with these shows.
It was probably Kevin Hart.
You don't have anybody who brings everybody together.
They brought in Kevin Hart to host it. It was a great idea. It was perfect. And he would have hosted it every year happily. And someone pulled up some tweets from 2000 and
a couple years ago,
6 or 7, where he said some things, and they didn't let him do the job. And
I thought he just dropped out. I didn't know they. I didn't know he got canceled.
It was a cancel thing.
It was tweets.
Yeah, because he would have been. He would have been good.
Because the thing is that he does the kids' movies.
Yeah,
right. He does the kids. That's the thing. So that's the bridge.
He's the answer to Nick's question.
There you go. But they won't let him do it.
They won't let him do it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they won't let him do it. So that's the crazy part about it, is that that's the challenge, is that we don't have enough of that. Because honestly. So back to Chris's point about some of the stuff that they're saying during their speeches, back to other things, like some of the hosts of these shows are also trying to get a little bit more salacious in order to get the jokes, to make them hit. Mm-hmm. Stop doing that. What we need is I want to watch the freaking awards with my 9-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Give me PG-13 and we're golden.
Yeah.
That's it. And they haven't done that in I don't know how many years.
And make it fun.
Yeah, give me PG-13, bro, and we're golden. Like, everything works out. Like, it's great, and we're all in, because that's the thing. Like, why do you make Disney movies? Why do you make because it's not the kids who are going to see the movie. Because the parents have to pay for the kids to get it. We're all there.
Right.
Bring us all to these events, and this would solve this problem. And because Chris, I always think about this. I'm like, these people know what they're doing. This is an industry. They get paid off this industry. Can we really be smarter than them? You know what I'm saying? Like really? Are we smarter than they are right now?
This year's awards is set up for even more drama. It's already getting sort of strangely weird around all these people competing and all the dirt throwing right now that's happening. So we'll have to see. So before we wrap up, does anybody have Best Picture and maybe, let's say, Best Actor, Best Actress guesses? We're going to do a live show, to talk about this. But do we have so that when this comes out, I think it'll either be happening or it will have just happened. So can we predict early? Sam, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm taking the under on this one. So the current going theory, and a lot of people are putting money down that Anora is going to win. Yeah. It kind of ran the gamut over at the DGA, PGA, Critics' Choice. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think it's going to be Brutalist. I think
that's what I was going to say.
I think The Brutalist, having seen the movie, I think Anora is a really great movie. I love. I mean, as we all know, Sean Baker is my favorite director ever, and I think it will win in other categories. I just think that when you look at The Brutalist, it's exactly the type of movie they like. It's exactly the type of movie the Oscars really appreciates. It's long. It's a difficult watch. It's complicated. There was also rumors that they were only watching half of the movie. And so if you only watch the first half of the movie, it's absolutely perfect. I think that for actor, now, a little bias here, I've got $50 that Coleman Domingo will take it.
For Sing Sing.
But I think that even if I didn't have money on it, I genuinely think Coleman Domingo is the best choice here. I do think it's probably going to be Adrian Brody. He's won every thing. I think that he's had some complications when it came to the little bit of AI use, and I think that just overall his performance is very strong. I just don't think it's quite Coleman Domingo's level. But if we're talking about who's going to win it, predictions, I would say Adrian Brody's probably got it. Just not in my heart, at the end of the day. So,
we once wrote a screenplay for Adrian Brody, Sam, to play.
Really?
Yeah.
I love Adrian Brody. I love him to death. I think he's a great actor, fantastic actor.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Chris, I'm echoing that. That's literally what I was going to say as far as the best film. I also want to.
Best actress.
I want that.
We got any of those?
I forgot best actress. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was also going to say that I'm hopeful that The Brutalist wins based off of the news coming out about the fact that the director made nothing and had to make commercials in order to survive.
Yep.
And I don't know what you get. I can't remember what you get when you get an Academy Award.
$1 million.
Yeah, I want him to get it.
Yep.
That's it. I want him to get it. I think that's a lot of work, man.
He needs it.
Sam said, that movie. Yeah, he needs it. But not only that, but to produce a movie like that at that length,
or his investors
up for Oscar, contention. I feel like you deserve that.
Yeah.
And we got to see what he does next. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. But put him in a position where he can live his life. If this is why you pay.
Well, he probably took a fee, but that probably long since got spent up because it took him forever.
That's what I'm saying. Because he's saying he's living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that if he's so great, give him the bandwidth to express his greatness. That's why we do this for creatives.
Yeah.
Because we want you to have the ability to not worry about the bills, not worry about these things, so that you can create the next, not one film, but next 3 to 5 films.
Catalog.
Yes, that that's what we want you to do.
That's what we always want.
I'm hopeful that is the case. I haven't seen Sing Sing. I need to. One of the most impactful things that I thought about that film was that it went into the theaters, and simultaneously it was shown in prisons across the country. It is the first film to ever do that, and that is amazing.
Yep,
I think that's an amazing feat for a film, and if it has the quality that Sam is saying that it has, then that's even more amazing. And Coleman Domingo, it's kind of like back to the Moonlight thing, right? If it's that high quality, then it deserves it. Hopefully it gets it. But if you were to bet on it, like no one would have bet on Moonlight, right? It just, and even down to the wire, down to the last second, you would have lost that bet, right?
They might have called it. They might have called it. Yeah.
And then the last second, they got it, right? It went to La La Land. But anyway, so I would appreciate. But I think Adrian Brody, and then I'll go back to you for actress. I don't know if I'm educated enough to give a guess on that.
Well, actually, Chris, you go ahead and you kick off actress.
I can kick off actress. Well, Papa Bear, do you have any thoughts on this at all? Have you seen anything this year?
No, I'm going to have to take a pass because I haven't seen any of the ones that were nominated.
Oh, so, man, come to my come to my dojo, sir.
All right.
And we will watch all of them or any of the ones you're most interested in. And maybe except for The Brutalist, I don't know if I'm going to do that twice. This close together. I would totally do it twice.
I'd like to see Brutalist, but
I would totally do it twice. Just not this close back. Oh God,
I'm still here. Oh my gosh,
that made me cry. So great movie.
Fantastic.
So okay. Yes, Nick, Sing Sing is fantastic. It's. I thought it was movie of the year, basically up until the point I saw Anora, and then I thought, ooh, maybe Anora's better, and did some more things, and then you're just watching a lot more films. You're like, oh, this is a little closer than than I initially imagined. But Baby Girls, it's not best film, but I think what Nicole Kidman does there is worth consideration. I thought Angelina Jolie is the best performance I saw from a female this year, or from an actress this year.
Lily Rose Depp and Nosferatu. I thought highly underrated.
I think it's underrated. I think Nosferatu is the best horror film of the year. What she did is not close to what Angelina Jolie did in Maria. Angelina Jolie became that person. And you talk about someone disappearing into their role. You just have to watch it, and you'll see what I mean. It's she's not herself. That's for sure. But will Demi Moore win for The Substance? I didn't hate The Substance as much as Sam did. It's a movie.
Sam.
It's a movie that you shouldn't watch more than once, but you have to watch it at least once. And I think her and the co-actor, they both did a really great job. Those are
Margaret Qualley.
Yeah. Those aren't normal people doing normal things in a normal situation. That's unusual to do. And sometimes the person who's due just wins. And I think Demi Moore is due, so I think she'll win. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a difficult one because.
But for me, it's Angelina Jolie did the best, nominated.
Yeah, but I was going to say, but back to what Sam was saying about what the Academy likes.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time Angelina Jolie won an Academy Award?
She won for.
But what I'm saying is, she too might be due.
Yeah, she might be.
So
she wasn't nominated.
But she wasn't nominated. Is the problem? Yeah, so that's the thing. Like I'm saying, she had the best performance I saw this year.
Is it Bones or something?
And it's a shame because she's not going to win, obviously, right? Because she's not nominated. But so of those that are nominated, then it's probably going to be Demi Moore's year. And here's the thing: I'm forgetting the young lady's name that was in I'm Still Here. She probably deserves it of the nominated, but people don't know her name, like me.
No, or me either.
So Demi Moore is going to win. You see what I mean? So that's you kind of bet. If you're talking about bet, Sam, you do it that way. Movie wise. Not just because not just because of what you said, Sam, like Hollywood likes a certain type of movie. I thought Anora and Sing Sing were great. I thought Brutalist was profound. So there's just a difference between those two. One's a great movie, and then or a couple of these are really, really great movies that are just awesome to watch. And there's so much more than just Sing Sing and Anora. And there's been a lot of great films that, I could point to and say, hey, that was like Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys is like a sleeper pick for best film of the year. I just watched that the other night. Really, really great. Really enjoyed that. But The Brutalist is profound. The ending, which I won't give away, is profound because it flips your whole dynamic and world upside down in a way, and it makes you rethink everything that Brody did to get to that point.
Well, I think that's what Sam was saying about that is the type of film the Academy likes.
Yeah,
like
so
that's it.
I'll go
Brutalist. All of the marks. Yeah.
And I'll go,
okay. But I'm hopeful for him.
And I'll go Coleman Domingo because I've said that. I said that he should have won last year for Rustin. Best performance I saw last year was Rustin from an actor, and Sing Sing is no different. I mean, the stuff he does with his face and the way he moves, it's just you can't teach it. I think it's great, so I'll go with that.
Yeah.
So
cool.
There you go.
That's awesome,
guys. I think we did the damn thing.
Yeah, it's great, man. That's honestly this conversation, I mean, for me was a lot of fun. And it's the introspection too is
revelatory.
Really cool. And freaking Papa Bear screwed me up with that joint, man. Like
Papa Bear dropping the knowledge on us.
Yeah, man. Like it just killed me. Like I feel stupid.
First African American, first woman.
I know, but I feel stupid. But the thing is that what he exposed is
it's like a culture
how
check.
We're conditioned. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Remember, I told you this whole conversation was going to be a culture check.
Yeah,
but it exposes how we're conditioned.
Yep.
Right, despite our intelligence, right? That's the thing. Is like
speak for yourself.
No, we knew, but we knew. But anyway, all of it's great, and I love the different perspectives. I love having Sam here to provide his perspective on things, and then when we say things, it might actually introduce new things to him.
Yep.
Right, which is why I love the give and take of these conversations. Honestly, it's just it's a great time, and I appreciate you guys for being a part of this. Like that's the best part of this whole conversation is that we're all here together doing this and having these conversations. We all get to learn and grow together. So I couldn't ask for anything more.
Here. And we also are here with the audience and here with the viewers, the listening and viewing audience. We want to thank you too for being here with us and being part of the conversation. There's a way you can be part of the conversation beyond this podcast. You can do that in the comments section. You can email us. That's at contact@bonsai.film. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel, like these videos, share them with a friend. All that stuff means the world to us. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or Amazon, you can go give us 5 stars, make some comments there, talk about the exchange we just had, whether you agree or disagree. Let us know what your ideas and thoughts are. You can also communicate with us through our community page on our podcast platform on YouTube. We put polls up every day. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are and opinions are on these little things that drive society and make society what it is. So make sure you reach out to us there. You can buy some awesome apparel and wear your filmmaking journey everywhere you go. That's at cottonbureau.com. We have amazing t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and crew necks there for you to get. And we have many, many cities represented, more cities on the way. But that's at cottonbureau.com. What you'll need to do is you'll need to search for the Make It podcast, and then we will come right up. If you want to reach out to Nick directly, you can email him at nick@bonsai.film. If you want to find me, I'm on X at Flame in Your Heart, or you can just search for Chris Barkley. Papa Bear is he's doing something. Are you throwing gang signs, Papa Bear?
I'm reaching out for Nick.
Oh, okay. You can reach him. You can reach him the way that. Well, how were you reaching? Were you reaching for Nick at bonsai.film?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now you got my flow all messed up. Anyway, last but not least, we have a newsletter. We let it out every 2 weeks. It's called Indie Insights. You can subscribe at bonsai.film/subscribe, and you can find us on the web at themakeitpodcast.com. So do that, and no matter what, if you reach out to us, we holler back at you every time. We're like Gwen Stefani. We just holler back. Actually, she didn't holler back. That was
she was not a holler back girl.
Anyway, neither are we.
Right.
But we will reach out to you. We do that 100% of the time. So with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Yeah, man. Again, appreciate you guys. This is awesome. And with that, I will say to our friends, filmmaking friends, our fans, our family out there, we have to say, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Make sure you follow us also on Instagram and TikTok at _MakeItPodcast. Forgot to mention that. Sam, Papa Bear, we love you. Nick, talk to you soon.
Yep, we'll do it again.
All right,
gents.
Peace.
Be easy.
See you guys.
Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.